we have seen, particularly in the recent past, groups of people who are attacking others, whether it be churches which have suffered under the same thing, or whether it be people who are viewed as the opponents who have been attacked in various spaces, basically hindering them either from participating in what they need to conduct or hindering them from conducting their rallies. Now, our position, which we have read here, is that this is something that we totally condemn and we do not encourage it. Of particular concern is some of the things we have viewed which have actually not only attributed Goonism, but they have said they were escorted by sections of those who are in the security apparatus. We would pray that this is not because certain politicians somewhere were actually promoting Goonism. We would want to urge Kenyans at large to create that democratic space that is there in our constitution, so that we debate our ideas and we do not include violence attacks as a method of debating ideas. We remain at word level and at ideology level rather than physical level. Our encouragement to those who are in authority is that not only should they arrest those who have been captured in camera practicing these attacks, but they should also try to investigate who are behind them and contributing to this attack. Thanks.
The country gradually turns its intention towards the 2027 general election. We commend the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission for the successful voter registration efforts undertaken thus far. We also recognize and appreciate the commitment demonstrated by the millions of Kenyans who continue to participate actively in our democratic process. However, the number of new voters registered so far is still much lower than the target of 6 million that was targeted by IEBC. We therefore urge those who are yet to register, especially the young people, to register at the designated IEBC registration centers to enable them to exercise their democratic rights in the August 2027 elections. We also trust that the few complaints on individuals on misplaced voting centers will also be addressed. However, credible elections require early and deliberate preparation. We urge Parliament to expedite the enactment of all pending electoral reforms and necessary legislation to strengthen public confidence in electoral institutions and processes. The next, number 3, peaceful election and responsible political conduct. Kenya's democratic future depends not only on institutions, but also on the conduct of leaders and citizens. We call upon all political leaders to desist from inflammatory rhetoric, ethnic mobilization, hate speech, and divisive political narratives that threaten national cohesion. Political competition must never come at the expense of peace and unity. We challenge the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, to discharge its mandate firmly, impartially, and proactively. The Commission must move beyond statements and demonstrate tangible action against individuals and groups that promote hatred, intolerance, and incitement in our country. Number 4 is Goonism, political violence, and lawlessness. The increasing incidence of organized violence, political intimidation, destruction of property, and the deployment of criminal gangs to disrupt lawful activities are deeply troubling. We strongly condemn all forms of Goonism, political violence, and incitement. Such actions undermine democracy, weaken public confidence, and threaten national stability. We call upon the National Police Service and all the security agencies to act decisively, professionally, and impartially against perpetrators regardless of their political affiliation or social standing. No individual or group should be allowed to operate above the law. Number 5 is stewardship of public resources and economic recovery. As the nation enters a new financial year, we urge the government to exercise prudence, discipline, and accountability in the management of public resources. At a time when many Kenyans are struggling with the rising cost of food, housing, education, healthcare, energy, and transportation, public expenditure must reflect the realities facing ordinary citizens. We therefore call upon the government to, 1, reduce wasteful expenditure and non-essential spending, intensify the fight against corruption and economic crimes, The third one, strengthen accountability mechanism in public institutions. Prioritize service delivery in critical sectors like education and health. Implement targeted relief measures for vulnerable households. Develop economic stimulus interventions that support job creation, small businesses, agriculture, and youth enterprises. Good stewardship is both biblical and a constitutional responsibility. Public resources must serve the common good and not private or political interests. The scripture reminds us, whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker. Yes. But whoever is kind to the needy honors God. Proverbs 14, verse 31. 6 is education reforms, equity, and future of our children. The future of Kenya depends significantly on the equality, accessibility, and stability of its education system. We appreciate the government's efforts in improving teacher-learning ratio by recruiting close to 100,000 teachers for the basic education institution and the reforms in the tertiary education. We urge the government to fast-track release of funding for government-sponsored students to private universities. Delay in releasing these funds after private universities have actually rendered their services to the students continue to hurt operations in these universities. We call upon the Ministry of Education and all stakeholders to address the emerging concerns surrounding the competency-based education framework through broad consultation and evidence-based decision-making. We support the ongoing midstream review process and encourage meaningful participation by teachers, parents, faith communities, and education and experts, and all Kenya at large.
Goonism is across the board. You'll find Goonism in areas of business, where somebody's buying this property, and somebody else who, for other reasons, had that property in mind, they will get their goons to come and attack. Goonism can even be found in the church, where leadership wrangles take place, and you find some people raise up, bring young people or older people, they come and close the church and chase others outside. Goonism can be found in the economic circles, can be found in the political circles, and I think that's what we are focusing on more. But I believe that it is across board land buying. You're finding Goonism. Somebody, an old lady has a house of her own, she's enjoying this, being there, and some people just decide they want to throw that lady out. Maybe they're even relatives. They organize goons and they throw that person out. So it's a problem that we have had around for a long time, but it's being harnessed more by those who are seeking either office, seeking power. And I think the church's duty is for us to hold particularly those within the security sector, hold them accountable, and if possible, do a lot more by confronting such issues in front of them and tell them, hey, this has to stop. And possibly if it continues under a particular security officer, I think it will be good for us to continue now to call for that person awajibike mbele ya watu. Because I think as a nation, we cannot continue with such behavior because it is contrary to nation building and to unity of a nation.